Most people live their entire lives without ever truly being alive. They wake up every morning thinking about yesterday or worrying about tomorrow, but they almost never experience what is happening right now. This is the core problem Eckhart Tolle talks about in The Power of Now. The book is not about gaining new information. It is about unlearning what keeps you trapped inside your own mind. It is about waking up from unconscious living and realizing that life is only happening in this moment, not in the past and not in the future. From childhood, we are taught to think constantly. We are praised for planning, remembering, analyzing, and imagining. Slowly, we begin to believe that our thoughts are who we are. We identify with the voice in our head. That voice talks all day long. It judges, compares, complains, regrets, fears, and hopes. Eckhart Tolle calls this voice the egoic mind. The ego is not who you truly are. It is a false sense of self created by thought. But most people never question it. They think they are their thoughts, their emotions, their stories, and their problems. The ego survives by time. It lives in the past and the future. The past gives it identity, pain, and stories. The future gives it hope, fear, and control. But the present moment threatens the ego because in the now, the ego disappears. In the now, there is no story, no problem, no lack. There is only being. That is why the mind resists the present moment. It prefers drama over peace. It prefers familiar suffering over unknown freedom. One of the most powerful ideas in The Power of Now is that pain does not come from what happens to you. Pain comes from your resistance to what happens. Life itself is neutral. Situations are neutral, but the mind labels them as good or bad. When something happens that the mind does not like, it says, "This should not be happening." That inner resistance creates emotional pain. Tolle explains that suffering is created by time and resistance. If you remove time and resistance, suffering ends. Think about it. Right now, in this exact moment, are you actually in danger? Are you missing something essential for survival? Most of the time, the answer is no. But the mind brings memories of past pain and imaginations of future problems into the present moment, making you feel anxious, sad, or angry now. You are not reacting to reality, you are reacting to a thought about reality. Eckhart Tolle introduces the idea of the pain body. The pain body is accumulated emotional pain from the past that lives inside you. It feeds on negative thoughts and emotions. When something triggers it, the pain body takes over your thinking. Suddenly, you feel overwhelmed, angry, or depressed without fully knowing why. In those moments, you are not conscious. You are possessed by the pain body. The key is not to fight it or judge it. The key is awareness. Awareness is the greatest power you have. When you become aware of your thoughts and emotions, you create space between you and them. You realize that you are the observer, not the thought. You are the awareness behind the emotion, not the emotion itself. The moment you observe the pain body without judgment, it begins to dissolve. It cannot survive in the light of consciousness. The Power of Now teaches that you do not need to change your life situation to find peace. Peace is not found in better conditions. Peace is found in your relationship with the present moment. Many people believe, I will be happy when I get this job, this relationship, this money, this success. But when they get it, happiness is temporary. Soon, the mind finds a new problem. This is because happiness based on conditions is unstable. True peace comes from within, from acceptance of what is. Acceptance does not mean weakness. It does not mean you stop taking action. It means you stop mentally fighting reality. When you accept the present moment fully, you align with life instead of resisting it. From that state, right action naturally arises. You act not from fear or anger, but from clarity and presence. Time is another illusion. Tolle talks about deeply. Clock time is practical and necessary. Psychological time is the problem. Psychological time is constantly thinking about the past and future. The mind says, I need more time, or I wasted so much time, or what if this happens later? But life does not happen in time. Life happens now. The past exists only as memory. The future exists only as imagination. The present moment is the only place where life exists. When you are fully present, the mind becomes quiet, not because you force it, but because it no longer has control. In presence, there is stillness. In stillness, there is intelligence far greater than thought. This intelligence guides you naturally. Many people fear stillness because they are addicted to noise in the mind. But stillness is not empty. It is alive. It is peaceful. It is powerful. The ego constantly seeks more. More money, more attention, more validation, more control. But no matter how much it gets, it is never satisfied. This creates a constant feeling of lack. Presence ends that lack because in the now there is already enough. You may still have preferences and goals, but they no longer define your happiness. Tolle also explains that most conflicts in relationships are not between people, but between egos. Each ego wants to be right, superior, or validated. When two unconscious minds interact, drama is created. But when one person becomes present, the dynamic changes. Presence is contagious. It disarms the ego in others because it does not react. Instead of defending or attacking, presence listens. Love, in its pure form, is not attachment or need. Love is the recognition of being in another. When you are present, you can love without fear of loss because you are not using the other person to complete you. You are already whole. Relationships then become a place of sharing, not dependency. The power of now is not about escaping the world. It is about living in the world without being lost in it. You still work, plan, and take care of responsibilities, but you do not carry them as psychological burdens. You do what needs to be done now, and then you let it go. You stop turning life into a problem that needs to be solved all the time. Eckhart Tolle emphasizes that awakening is not an achievement, it is a remembering. It is remembering who you are beyond thought. The mind says, I am this name, this story, this success, this failure. Presence says, I am, just being, no label, no form, pure awareness. Fear is one of the biggest obstacles to presence. Fear always points to the future. It says something bad might happen. But fear has no reality in the now. When fear arises, bring attention to the body. Feel your breath. Feel your hands, feel your feet touching the ground. This anchors you in the present moment. The mind loses power when attention moves to the body. Surrender is another misunderstood concept in the book. Surrender does not mean giving up on life. It means giving up resistance. It means saying yes to the present moment as it is. When you surrender, you stop feeding pain with resistance. Ironically, surrender gives you strength. It allows transformation to happen naturally. The ego believes that without constant thinking you will fail or lose control. But in reality, the opposite is true. The most effective actions come from presence. Athletes call it being in the zone. Artists call it flow. Spiritual traditions call it grace. It is the same state. Action without ego. The power of now ultimately teaches that enlightenment is not somewhere far away. It is not reserved for monks or saints. It is available now, in this breath, in this moment. All you need is willingness to be present. You do not need to get rid of thoughts. You just need to stop believing that they are you. Thoughts will come and go like clouds. You are the sky. Emotions will rise and fall like waves. You are the ocean. Situations will change. You remain. When you live in the now, life becomes simpler. Not easier, but lighter. You stop carrying unnecessary mental weight. You stop living as a character in your mind and start living as life itself. This is the power of now. And the truth is, the moment you truly understand this, you realize that you were never broken, never incomplete, never lacking. You were just lost in thought. Presence brings you home. As awareness deepens, Eckhart Tolle moves the focus from the mind to the inner body. Most people live almost entirely in their heads. They think about the body, judge the body, use the body, but they are rarely inside it. This disconnection is one of the reasons people feel restless, anxious, and incomplete. The body is always in the present moment. When you bring attention into the body, you are instantly brought into the now. Tolle explains that the inner body is not the physical shape you see in the mirror. It is the feeling of aliveness inside you, the subtle vibration, the energy field that you can sense if you pause and feel. Close your eyes for a moment and feel your hands from the inside. There is a tingling, a warmth, a presence. That presence is not thought. It is being. The more you feel the inner body, the less power the mind has over you. The mind creates problems, but the body knows reality. When attention stays in the body, you become grounded. Fear loses its grip. Anxiety weakens. You are no longer trapped in mental noise. This is why Tolle says the body can become a doorway to presence. You do not need complicated techniques. Just feel. Just be. Another deep truth revealed is that unhappiness comes from identification. Identification with thoughts, roles, labels, and emotions. When you say, I am angry or I am depressed, you are claiming the emotion as your identity. But emotions are temporary. They pass. When you identify with them, you trap yourself inside them. Instead, Tolle suggests a shift in language and awareness. Say, there is anger or there is sadness. This small change creates space. You are no longer the emotion. You are the awareness witnessing it. The ego thrives on identity. It wants a story. It wants to say, this happened to me, this is who I am, this is what I lack. Presence dissolves that story. In presence, there is no personal narrative, only life unfolding. That can feel uncomfortable at first because the ego feels like it is dying. In truth, only the false self is dissolving. Tolle goes deeper into the idea of suffering and explains that all suffering is ultimately unnecessary. This does not mean pain will not arise. Pain is part of the human experience. But suffering is pain plus resistance. When pain arises and you fully allow it, without mental commentary, it transforms, it softens, it loses its sting. Resistance hardens pain and turns it into suffering. He gives a powerful example. If you are feeling sadness, instead of saying, why am I sad? Or I shouldn't feel this way, simply feel the sadness. Notice its texture, its energy, its movement in the body. When you do this, sadness becomes an object of awareness, not your identity. Awareness itself is untouched by sadness. This is liberation. The book also challenges the idea that thinking is always useful. Thinking has its place, but compulsive thinking is a disease. Most thoughts are repetitive, negative, and uncreative. They do not solve problems, they create them. True intelligence arises when thinking is used consciously, not compulsively. Silence plays a crucial role here. Tolle says silence is not the absence of sound, but the absence of mental noise. You can hear sounds without labeling them. You can look at a tree without naming it. In those moments, there is a gap in thought. That gap is powerful. It is through these gaps that presence enters your life. Nature is a great teacher of presence. Animals do not live in psychological time. They do not regret yesterday or worry about tomorrow. A cat resting in the sun is completely there. When humans observe nature without analyzing it, they naturally become present. This is why time spent in nature feels healing. It pulls you out of the mind and into being. Tolle then addresses one of the deepest fears humans have, the fear of loss and death. The ego fears death because it is form-based. It knows that as a form, it is temporary. But what you truly are is not a form. Awareness has no beginning and no end. When you disidentify from form, the fear of death loses its power. Every ending, every loss, every change is an opportunity for awakening. When something you relied on disappears, the ego feels threatened. But in that gap, presence can be discovered. Many people awaken only after deep loss because the mind's structures collapse. What remains is being. He explains that true spirituality is not about believing something. It is about experiencing reality directly. Beliefs are all thoughts. Presence is truth. You do not need to believe in presence. You just need to be present. As awareness grows, your relationship with the world changes. You stop demanding that life make you happy. You stop waiting for external validation. You stop measuring yourself through comparison. Comparison is one of the ego's favorite tools. It says someone is better or worse. Presence sees uniqueness, not hierarchy. Action taken from presence is effortless. You still set goals, but you are not attached to outcomes. You enjoy the process. Failure does not define you. Success does not inflate you. Both come and go. Tolle also talks about waiting. Most people hate waiting because waiting forces them into the present moment. They feel bored, restless, irritated. But waiting is one of the greatest spiritual practices. Instead of resisting waiting, become aware of your breath, your body, your surroundings. Waiting turns into stillness. Even boredom has a message. Boredom arises when the mind cannot find stimulation. But beneath boredom is peace. If you allow boredom without trying to escape it, you fall into presence. The ego hates boredom because it cannot survive without stimulation. The book emphasizes again and again that awakening is simple but not easy. Simple because the truth is always now. Not easy because the mind is deeply conditioned to escape the now. But every moment is an invitation. Every breath is a doorway. You do not awaken all at once. Awakening happens in degrees. Small moments of presence grow into longer ones. Slowly, unconsciousness loses dominance. You become more rooted in being than in thinking. Ultimately, Eckhart Tolle points to a life lived from presence as a life of peace, clarity, and compassion. Not because the world becomes perfect, but because you are no longer at war with what is. The outer world may still be chaotic, but your inner world is still. And in that stillness, you discover the truth the book keeps pointing to again and again. You are not your mind. You are not your past. You are not your fears. You are the awareness in which all of this appears. That awareness is always here, always now.